So today we're going to be talking about the new SpaceX launch that made history due to the use of the metal chopsticks and metal chopstick-like tools at the launch site in Boca Chica, Texas, where they were able to recapture the super booster that was used to launch the spacecraft. I forgot what it was called, but we'll get into that later. For the Sky Report, we're going to be talking a lot about the moon, as the moon will be in its first quarter moon, I believe, something like that. And finally, we're going to be talking about the solar cycle right now, as NASA and NOAA, they have both declared that we are in a solar maximum officially. Anyways, all that and more will be coming. This is Interstellar Insights. Alrighty, guys. So, starting off this week's episode of Interstellar Insights, we're talking about a very, very big story, potentially historical, because what Elon Musk and SpaceX have done is probably going to make space travel a lot cheaper and a lot more affordable. So, as I'm sure as you know from a lot of the big media outlets, that's how big this story is that they're talking about, instead of, like Astronomy magazine or I forgot what's the other one, major magazine company. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Elon Musk and SpaceX, they basically made history because they were able to recapture the Super Heavy booster, which was captured using a pair of metal chopsticks. So to kind of clarify, that launch, which was last Sunday, I believe. Yeah, last Sunday at around 8:25 a.m. Eastern Standard. Although I guess there it would have been 7:25 a.m. because they were at Central. This was in Boca Chica, Texas, which is where SpaceX has this launching facility. But yeah, anyways, Starship had its launch, and it used the Super Heavy booster to essentially lift off and carry Starship into the atmosphere. Now, as soon as Starship took off with the Super Heavy booster, and Starship had enough potential, had enough energy to continue on without the Super Heavy booster, the Super Heavy booster essentially rerouted itself back to the landing pad at this same facility. Instead of, like before, most of these boosters, they just crash into the Gulf of Mexico, splash down, a lot of stuff regarding pollution. But what actually happened is the boosters, they, like I said, they disconnected, they rerouted back to the original launch pad, and then they used smaller boosters basically to slow the descent, and kind of act like brakes, if you will, slow it down so it's not just gravity. And then it was able to position itself so that a pair of like metal rods, or metal chopsticks as they're calling them, were able to capture the booster and essentially just hold it in place, basically allowing the booster to be reused for future missions. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard about that part of the story regarding, what actually happened regarding the booster, and that, we were able to successfully reuse the booster. And, this arguably, if you do the math, should be saving a buttload of money, not just for us when they tried to commercialize space travel, but for the companies in general, so there's money being saved all around, instead of having to use more resources to build more of these boosters. And if they're crashing the Gulf of Mexico, I'm sure they're contributing in some way to pollution, so that's bad. So, it's kind of a win-win scenario for everyone. But anyways, there can really, I guess the next bit is regarding Starship. And I mean, the penultimate goal right now is to use Starship as kind of a means to transport people and like ferry people basically across the solar system. So, think of like some futuristic things, from like, I guess, Star Wars or Star Trek, and then like how they have their spacecraft, and then like or really any sci-fi movie where there's some kind of commercial system to connect different planets. Yeah, I'm sure those two are perfect examples. I don't know why I'm making it sound like I've never seen them. But yeah, essentially the goal is I guess kind of a transit system across the solar system, allowing, humans to go to, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, all that stuff. That can be accomplished with Starship, or at least that's what the goal is. So anyways, SpaceX is also getting involved with the Artemis 3 project. For those of you that don't know, Artemis 3 is a mission back to the moon. It's expected to, I believe it's expected to launch around 2026, April 2026, somewhere around mid 2026. But really, this is the first mission, I guess, really for America to head back to the moon. Basically, after all the Apollo missions, I believe it was Apollo 17 was the last one in like the 70s or something, like 73, 74, something like that. So essentially, NASA they contacted SpaceX, and they basically gave them a contract to build Starship, these Starship rockets, I guess really more like shuttles. I guess that's a more appropriate word. But anyways, they're building variants called HLS variants, or Human Landing System variants, essentially to be used on the moon, so that way, they can land and stuff and do all the things they need to do regarding Artemis 3 and what they are trying to do on the moon. So, yeah, that's very important. And then, of course, SpaceX is going to continue on with developing rockets, I guess really, they're trying to cut the cost of space travel, for NASA, for themselves in terms of production and maintaining it, as well as, eventually someday in the very, very near future, space travel is going to be commercialized and everyone's going to be traveling across planets, and, it's like stuff out of sci-fi movies, if you know what I mean. But anyways, the only big obstacle looking for SpaceX is the good old-fashioned FAA. And this has been going on for a while, but there's always some licensing feuds going on between SpaceX and the FAA. And let's say, because right now they have a license to operate Starship, but let's say if they heavily modify Starship or something like that, which they have done in the past, and it has gotten in the fuse between the two, where the FAA is paid this outrageous sum of money or something like that, stuff like that. So it's just a bunch of paperwork. There's I believe SpaceX themselves, they keep saying they spend a whole lot more time filling out this FAA paperwork than actually doing the launches, which is kind of tough. But yeah, the only thing stopping all these launches is the FAA, being themselves. So yeah, that is all I've got. Very, very historical, very important. Going to cut the costs of space travel, very big economically and technologically, because, we're one step closer to, letting humans leave Earth and, potentially settle on other planets and stuff in the solar system. So yeah, very, very important. Yeah, making dreams become reality over there at SpaceX. They're doing miracles over there. But anyways, that is all I've got for this very, very historical topic and very important topic. Let's go move over to this week's Sky Report. Alrighty, guys, welcome to this week's Sky Report. So, today, Thursday, and Friday, we're going to be talking about a lot of great content here. Like I said, in the intro, I said first quarter moon. It's actually the last quarter moon, just for any confusion. But anyways, let's get down to the nitty-gritty details. So starting off with tonight. Tonight, the moon is actually going to be out on display. It's going to be 4 degrees north of Mars, while the moon itself is tracking Gemini in its orbit, and then it's going to be to the right of the stars Castor and Pollux in the night sky. And then besides the moon, there is going to be an asterism in the night sky. It's going to be 1 hour after sunset. The Great Square of Pegasus, which does not actually have to do anything with the Pegasus constellation. That's not a real word. Constellation. It's been a rough day for me. I'm kind of tired. But anyways, Great Square of Pegasus has nothing to do with the Pegasus constellation. I don't know why it's named that. When I talk about naming, I talk about random numbers and letters. This one's just misplaced. I don't know whoever named this. shame on you or whatever. But anyways, the great square of Pegasus is going to be high in the sky, and it's going to be comprised of 4 stars. And when it rises, it's actually going to look more like a diamond, which is kind of weird. Once again, why not the great diamond of, I don't know, great diamond of Gemini or something like that? Because well, I mean, I'm sure on occasion it'll actually look like a square, but it's actually going to be rising up like a diamond tonight, which is weird. But anyways, the star that is going to be like the furthest down in the bottom of the asterism is a star called Algenib, which is going to be shining at a magnitude of 2.8. If we move clockwise from Algenib, there is going to be Alpheratz, which is going to be shining at a magnitude of 2.1. The star at the top of the constellation, which is clockwise from Alpheratz, is a 2.4 magnitude She, something like that, which is going to be, like I said, the furthest star. It's going to be shining at a magnitude of 2.4. That's a weird name. And then the star that's going to kind of close it out, if we were to start from the bottom and work clockwise, which is going to be the furthest star out right, is going to be a 2.5 magnitude Markab, which is going to close out, and yeah, like I said, shining at a magnitude of 2.5. Anyways, that is all I've got for tonight. Thursday, like I said, I misspoke at the beginning, FYI. I meant first, or no, I meant last quarter moon, I meant first. I got that confused. But anyways, last quarter moon is going to occur at 4:03 a.m. in the morning, and I forgot to say the thing again, but all times are going to be in Eastern Daylight Time. And like I said, if you live in Chicago or Denver or LA, I do not care. Do the math. But like if you live in, I don't know, DC or Baltimore, you're good. I got you, if you know what I mean. But anyways, last quarter moon is going to occur at 4:03 a.m. And then the western limb, or like more like the western, southwesternish part of the moon, is going to be illuminated in the night sky. And then there's going to be a lot of features such as Mare Imbrium and the Copernicus crater. I did not take Latin. I'm taking Spanish, so I'm sure I pronounced that right. But you know, like Mare, the seas of the moon, of like the cool volcanic black rock that you see on the moon. That's all that is. So yeah, I mean that's actually the only big thing that's happening for us is just the last quarter moon. But anyways, heading on to Friday, Venus is going to be in the sky. It's going to pass 3 degrees north of Antares at 3 p.m. And I know people here on the East Coast, that's like afternoon. So everywhere else, like Europe or something like that, where it's nighttime. Something like that, I don't know. But anyways, it's going to be, God, I'm losing my flow of track. Like I said, Venus is 3 degrees north of Antares. And it's going to be kind of towards the upper right of Antares if you look up at it. And then 40 minutes after sun set, Venus is going to be shining at a magnitude of -4. And Antares is going to be shining at a magnitude of 1. Now, besides Venus, there has been a comet that is in the night sky. This comet has been in, I guess, kind of the astronomy news, but I just didn't really have time to dedicate it, so it's been around for a little while. This is kind of like the last moments to see it before it leaves Earth's gravitational orbit and goes back out into the solar system. But anyway, the comet Tsuchinshan, I believe, Tsuchinshan, something like that. It's like Chinese, like Tsuchinshan Atlas. I don't know why it's named like that. Really, really hard to pronounce. Tsuchinshan Atlas. Ooh, my microphone. But that comet is going to be standing kind of faded in the night sky, kind of dimming as it begins to leave Earth's orbit. But it's going to be high in central Ophiuchus. That sounds right. Ophiuchus. That constellation, constellation, and it's going to be standing 40 degrees high. Since it's going to be pretty high, it's actually going to allow for a lot more time to view Suchin-Shan Atlas in the night sky. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, I have not myself because I don't think with our forecast, our 3-day forecast, it really aligns with it, except for like today. And it's like the last, well, not today, Friday, but like Friday's the last night to really see it. So, yeah. And then your times, of course, I cannot forget your times. Tonight, sunset's going to occur at 6:08 p.m. Moonrise is going to occur at 11:28 p.m. and moonset's going to occur at 2:15 p.m. For Thursday, sunrise is going to occur at 7:21 a.m. Sunset's going to occur at 6 p.m. and moonset's going to occur at 2:52 p.m. Friday, sunrise is going to occur at 7:22 a.m. Sunset's going to occur at 6:05 p.m. Moonrise is going to occur at 12:34 a.m. and moonset's going to occur at 3:21 p.m. I don't know why I said it like that. But anyways, your moon phases. Today it's going to be a waning gibbous, but for the rest of Thursday and Friday, it's going to be a waning crescent because, we're approaching last quarter moon. So, yeah, that is this week's Sky Report. Let's go and move on to talking about solar weather and the solar weather forecast for next couple of years. Alrighty, guys. So, we got a little bit of a solar weather update. I cannot really think of anything else to talk about, but, for those that remember, this has been a very, very, very popular topic. I believe this was the topic of our first episode, one of the first topics. And then, of course, I believe it was 2 weeks ago we talked about the solar storm and how. I did talk about it. I believe it was last week, but I saw the aurora borealis from the geomagnetic storm. I need to actually add those pictures in and post them. I have not had the time to. And then I also have a picture of the October supermoon, the Hunter's moon that I talked about last week that I'm also probably going to post. So yeah, a lot of solar activity, a lot of stuff to peek up in the night sky and see all these. I guess kind of like a red wine-ish color, if you will. That's the best way to think of it. It's very, very deep red, but very beautiful. It doesn't look much like visualized, but like if you get a picture of it, it's pretty stunning. So yeah, some good pictures of that. They're on the spot, so they're not as good, but there's just some. But anyways, I'm digressing from this to my personal astrophotography. So anyways, I'm just going to quickly review. We have 11-year solar cycles, so I believe we're in solar cycle 25. These cycles, they've been kept on record since 1755, I believe, something like that. But solar cycles, they last 11 years, but some last very early and some last very late. It's all very predictable. So like the earliest solar cycles, they end around 9 years after they begin, and then the latest one, I believe, like maybe 15 years. Maybe 15 years in that solar cycle. So yeah, it varies. It's why that it's like not consistent. It's like if it were consistent, I think it would be on 30, but that is just not the case. So anyways, I believe it was last Tuesday, but there was a teleconference between NASA and NOAA, NOAA. I believe that's the national. I don't know what that acronym stands for. I'm not a weather guy. I'm a solar weather guy, but I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't know the acronyms like National, OSU. I don't know, but I'll tell you that NASA is the National Aeronautic Space Administration. Yeah. That's right. I was about to be very disappointed in myself. I didn't get that, but anyways. At this teleconference, which was last week, October 15th, I believe, that was a Tuesday, they announced that Solar Cycle 25 is going to be, right now, it's officially in a solar maximum. So, yeah. And then for those of you that don't know, solar maximum is essentially kind of the, if we were to graph out solar activity as like a wave, it would be like the crest of a wave. It would be the top of the wave, where... there would be a lot of solar activities like solar flares, sunspots, CME, coronal mass ejections, and hiccup. I hiccuped there. But there's also like those geomagnetic storms that bombard Earth, and we got all the aurora borealis, and it looks real nice in the night sky. Yeah, that's basically what's going to happen. So Solar cycles right now are currently very, very difficult to predict. Actually, they are difficult to predict in time, but it is also hard to determine when cycle 25 is going to end and cycle 26 will begin. So it'll take roughly a year for scientists to really have an accurate prediction as to when cycle 25 ends and when cycle 26 will begin. And there's not really that much evidence. If you guys remember, in May there was like a solar storm and major geomagnetic storm, and then there's also the event 2 weeks ago. Those aren't really evidence of solar maximums. I know it may sound weird, but those are kind of like the tip of the iceberg. They can get much more powerful from here on out. So we will never know. But I guess the only surefire way is to really look at sunspots. That's kind of like the only metric, and it's kind of weird. It's like the frequency that sunspots are appearing and leaving, because that correlates to the amount of solar activity going on. And so, yeah. And then also, of course, when cycle 25 ends, that's when the polarity of the sun is going to flip. Yeah, I probably should have said that, but also, solar cycles, they indicate, a change in the magnetic field when one pole of the sun is positive and another is negative. So yeah, that polarity is switching, and then that leads to all the solar activity that's on the sun. So yeah, we are officially in a solar maximum season. We don't know when it'll end. It'll be kind of like walking through the dark, which is very ironic considering that you guys know why it's ironic. I don't need to explain it, then I'll sound like a big nerd. But yeah, you guys know what I mean. Very, very bright outside, yet we are in the dark about when this cycle is going to end and when cycle 26 is going to start. So yeah, that is all I've got in our change of, I guess we'll call it the solar seasons. That nice little ring to it, But anyways, let's go and move on to astronomy trivia. Alrighty, guys. Welcome to this week's edition of astronomy trivia. Before we get to the question for this week, let's talk about last week's answer. And I believe the question was, what space probe was launched in 1989 to study Venus? And the answer to that question was the Magellan spacecraft. And for those of you that don't know, Magellan was a space probe designed and launched by NASA around May 4th, 1989, basically with the goal of mapping the surface of Venus through the atmosphere using radar, basically, kind of like sonar, I believe. I don't know the exact science and metrics of it, but also Magellan was also tasked with analyzing the gravitational field of Venus before it ultimately took a nosedive and is now crashed on the surface of Venus. We don't know much about what happened next, but yeah, kind of a trick. I mean, is it really a trick question? I believe I said it was NASA. I don't remember exactly the question, but it would be a trick question in the sense that, it was Venera or something like that, and like it was one of their last probes to Venus or something like that. But anyways, excuse me. Let's reveal the question for this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia. Which planet in the solar system was mathematically proven to exist before discovery? Let me rephrase that. Or not let me rephrase that, let me restate that. Which planet in the solar system was mathematically proven to exist before discovery in the night sky? I'll put a poll out on YouTube and Spotify for respective viewers from there, so you guys can have a look at what the answer might be. But anyways, that is all I've got for this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia, so let's go close out this episode. Alrighty, guys. Well, this is pretty much the end of this week's episode of Interstellar Insights. Next week, regular podcast will be up as normal. Regarding the bonus podcast, there is not going to be an episode this week, unfortunately, because my guest who was supposed to be here has had a change of plans last minute and was unfortunately unable to make it. So that's an L on him, I guess minus aura or whatever, LOL. I don't know what to say to him. But hopefully we can get him on later, maybe not next week, but sometime down the road. And I want to see if I can get a bonus episode posted this week. And then the regular podcast schedule is going to stay the same. But anyways, if you like this episode, feel free to share it with people. And if you want to support me and, be notified on when new episodes get released, I appreciate if you could subscribe, because not only will you get more access to my content and more notifications and stuff, but by supporting me, we can make this podcast better, more people on, new segments, new topics to discuss about. So yeah, that is all I have got. This is Michael signing off.